Welcome to Living the Dream Iowa Life. I'm your host, Hannah Nuss, and each weekday we'll share enthusiasm for what's possible and dive into the stories of Iowans living their dream lives right here in the heartland. Whether you're chasing a big goal or just looking for a little inspiration, we've got you covered. Let's change the world together. This is Living the Dream Iowa Life. Let's go. Heyo, welcome to Living the Dream Iowa Life podcast. I'm your host, Hannah Nuss, and we are here. Listen, I don't know how to write this very plainly, but getting back on the consistency of this, getting back to journaling every morning, and before the accident, before BTA, before the accident, before Christ, right? Like BC, BA, before accident, I was on really a 3-year trajectory of completely abandoning myself and the practices that had got me to the place that I was in. And, I was doing the podcast, but I would say it had gotten to a place of, I don't know, kind of just something that I did. I don't know that it was a spiritual practice. It wasn't something that I was like feeling my way into every morning. It was just something that I did, another box that I could check. And for me, most importantly, a box that I could literally check every day. And what is a challenge for me is to not get so regimented that I'm not having fun with it. This is a really challenging balance for me because it is where people see the good in me, right? Like, every single guru that has ever existed on anything would say, make sure that your show is consistent and something to follow through on. And I think, when I think about that, gross. No, I don't want to do that. I want to follow my own feet. What I enjoy most about this show is being able to go from topic to just follow my intuition and follow my feet. And, whatever I'm struggling with, to continue exploring that and to know really this work is never done, because we don't stop growing and we don't stop kind of feeling our way into our higher being, our higher self. We don't stop that work. So this never-ending quest of self-development. And, there are some gurus and people out there that'll say, like, eventually we have to stop working on ourselves. And I would say no. And the only time that I have been led astray is when I thought that work was done. And so really for the last 3 years, unquestionably, I was like, I have bigger things to do. And what I have come back to since the accident is, this is my big to-do. Everything else is extra. And so great that I get to have such a rich, extra life. But that extra, that is not me. That is something I am blessed to be able to do, to be able to expand upon when I have capacity. But I can't have capacity without first working to understand myself and valuing and creating space for that work first, right? That's how I start my day. That's what I'm rooted in my practice. That is my day-to-day. This podcast is part of that day-to-day, having conversations, letting this information out so that, and here's the big kicker, because for the last 3 years I've been talking, um, letting this out so that there is room for others to grow around me. Right? So I've gotten enough of my energy out that I'm not pouncing on every single idea and question and narrative, so that I have space in my brain because I have let enough of myself out. Right? Working out, journaling it out, reading it out, talking it out, all of these things. Like, I need kind of a 5 release strategy. And my husband said the other morning, "What are you writing about?" I was like, "I don't know, anything that's on my head." And he's like, "It's 4 a.m. What is in your head?" And this blows my mind, because at the second that I wake up, I'm thinking about any dreams that I had, the meaning of any dreams that I had. I'm thinking about what I have that day. I'm thinking about what I need to get done. I'm thinking about all of the people that I talked to yesterday or the last week or the last month or the last whatever. I'm thinking about all of the projects that I have that could be coming up. I'm thinking about what I need to do from a family unit today. I'm thinking about our structure. I'm thinking about the schedule. I'm thinking about what isn't done that needs to be done. And so what do I have to journal about at 4 a.m.? What don't I have? I have everything, right? And since the accident and since coming back to these practices that really held space for me, because the last 3 years have been about the abandonment of me and what I need. And I think in a way, kind of this virtue signal, it had been about me. And so I think a part of me was like, oh no, this is too self-centered. This is too ego. Like, you can't keep just pursuing your thing. And so I was like, well, if I help other people, right, then that isn't. And that is not wrong. But what I have learned over the last 3 years is I have to be in a whole, healthy state in order to not kind of word vomit, ego drop all over people. Right? And like, my ego will kind of come out to bat for people and their dreams and people that I work with, and I will find great things in you, and hopefully with the things that I am building, we can get you to the greatness that you desire. And we're going to talk more about that today. But like, I can't do that work to its full potential without also honoring and valuing myself, and how important to set that as an example. And last year really was my year of example. And what I really found was that I was sort of talking the talk because I had done the work and I knew what it needed to look like. And so I'm like, yeah, we do this. And then I just wasn't doing it. And so I think in the way the universe works, like, I had my year of example, and I had kind of pitterings of what that looked like to be that, to live that truth, to not just preach it and talk about how important it was, to like be that. And when I got to like the finish line of, you've had a million chances, this is your example year, this is your living it year, the universe was like, enough. What is going to wake you up? And then it was like, here you go, boom. What's going to wake you up? Would taking this all away wake you up? Would that be enough? And it's funny because I remember maybe a day or two after the accident, I remember being like, I was saved, I'm supposed to be here, like, I can't even believe this is the craziest thing. And I feel like in that moment, I'm taking that lesson kind of for granted, and I'm just saying like, pulled out. I don't understand. And then the universe was like, okay, you're still not getting it. And you had a chance to get it within those 2 days and to like, yep. So then it was like, nope, here you go. Here's taking it all away in a way that had it happened any other way, like just a broken leg or kind of a direct message, but an indirect one, I would have gotten over the pain. I would have gotten over the attention for the pain. It would have been a physical injury that people would have like called attention to, and it would have felt like an injury that I've had before, and I would have felt like, people get this. But instead I had this like invisible injury, essentially. Like, you don't know what I'm experiencing. I have to tell you. And I don't want to have to tell you. I don't want to have to live through that again. I can't. And I can't even tell you, even if I wanted to, right? Like, we take away the podcast. We take away my ability to write. We take away everything that I've been able to utilize to sort of get into myself, get out of this egotistical state that really releases me from my body. And then I am completely reemerged in this egotistical way of being that I lived in before. And I had to live through, definitely like these moments of I have to focus only on myself. And ego is kind of a funny balance in that way for me. But I work back into this old familiar state, and like in everything that I did, back to gossiping, back to kind of just lower vibrational frequencies, back to like being uber competitive, back to this like animalistic state, and like just the return of that state of being, the return of that person. And I don't know, it felt kind of good. I am not gonna lie, it felt good because it felt comfortable, and there was my brain couldn't expand or be at the level that I had been at before. It was like stripped bare. Everything that I had done before gone back to this like very rudimentary, everything erased. Back to just understanding how to do life, make lunches. Back to this reality that like, this it. You could be back here. Do you remember what it felt like to be here? And I think experiencing that again, experiencing that way of existing again was so very important, because it forced me to find my way back. It forced me, it gave me no choice other than to adopt these things again, to stop neglecting myself, because that neglect essentially is why none of us can get anywhere. And this is so inclusive of everyone that I am helping, and the limits that I would set myself willingly. Like, okay, I can't do that. I can't do that. Can't do that. I'm not going to do it. What? You can't do that, or you won't do that. And why would I believe in myself? And it was this release. It felt so great to believe in other people. And trust me, there is no greater feeling in the world than to believe in others, empower others, help other people get to where they're going. But the buck kind of stops here. Like, we can't do that work. And I know it's like the oldest, most bleak, boring kind of concept of like, you must get your air mask on first. Secure your air mask before you secure anyone else's, right? Because if you pass out, you can't really put on someone else's mask, huh? So you got to breathe first. Then we can help the people around you breathe. That's fine. But if you're not breathing, friend, you can't be of any assistance. I promise. It ain't gonna happen. And so this idea, this concept, here I am, sort of in this return to, and not a full return to over the last 3 years. Not a full return. I would say like a better healed but abandoned return. Like, we remember what this was like, but a little bit. We kind of got on our high horse the second that we got to get some power again, right? Like, oh, this feels good. I'm back. I remember. And a lot happened, and so much happens when you are building something. When you have a kid, a second kid, a first puppy, a first kid, like a second kid, when you're adding to your family, whatever that home life looks like, when you're adding to your resume, when you're adding to your work capabilities, to like anytime that you're doing that, I do think that there is a kind of recycle process of, okay, we kind of got to figure out how to thrive here with these new stressors. We kind of got to figure out what the new norm is. And when we're figuring that out, obviously, like as maternal characters in the story, like taking care of everyone around us is sort of this natural state of being. Great. And usually that leads to the abandonment of self, and necessarily in some instances, like there was no way for me to fully take care of myself while I am trying to keep this human alive, I promise. And you know why? Because keeping a human or anything alive is like crazy hard work. And a business is no different. Hello, little child. I don't know how to keep you alive very well. I don't know how you work. What the ins and outs are of this thing, I don't know, right? And so as the maternal part of this story, we are sort of laying ourselves on the line as a business owner and going, okay, I don't know, but I am going to figure this out, and I have to stay extremely close to this thing. Like, literally, it is going to use my body for fuel. Okay, and so for sure, the first year is nothing but self-sacrifice. You have milk in places you don't want to think about, you don't even care about, because caring would mean that you have taken a second to not think about this human being that is literally sucking the life out of you, right? And any moment of thought of oneself may lead to an extreme meltdown that, like, you are 2 seconds away from not being able to handle, so you better stay focused on this little screaming baby thing. And this is no different from a business, right? Like, any glance off, any vacation, any second that you take away from this thing is the potential for a big meltdown that you are not prepared to handle because you are exhausted, right? And so if you're lucky enough to make it into year 2, then maybe you can start getting into a flow of understanding how things work. And if you're lucky enough to make it to year 3, you kind of understand how things work. You've got your feet under you. And then you kind of got some space, right? Like the toddler is exploring its own strength. You can kind of let it be babysat once in a while because it's not, I don't know, it doesn't have some weird breathing issue that no doctor can figure out, but like every babysitter is like, I don't know that your kid can breathe and I don't know that I feel comfortable with this. Might have to wait this thing out a while. Okay, well now they're 3 and they're mostly breathing normal. So can you watch the kid so I can get a date night or take a shower? And now we're kind of in this shower phase where we'll let people in and we feel comfortable sharing it because we kind of know how it moves now. We know a little bit more about it. And while it's ever changing, like a child is, right? It's growing and evolving, and we don't know all the things, but we know enough of the things. We know enough of the root of its being to feel good about letting it kind of out in the world. And letting it out in the world is actually letting people in, right? Like in parenting, we're letting them out to the world. We're letting them be coached or taught or babysat or, right, whatever. But like, it's not as scary because their existence is not so dependent on your freaking body, right? And for people who didn't nurse, or like in animal instances, right, where you have puppies or cats or whatever, right? In those instances, right, they're just not as dependent. You're not having to nurse them with a bottle or take them out to go to the bathroom every 2 hours, like every 2 hours, right? Still dependent on your body and your willingness to sacrifice to figure them out. And so eventually they get to this place where they really are kind of figuring it out, and you're okay letting them go into the world kind of safely. Maybe we're letting them kind of hang out. We're trusting them a little bit more. Maybe we don't have to take them out every 2 hours. Maybe it's every 4. Maybe I can actually sleep for a solid 6 hours before they need me again, before they're dependent on my body and mind again, maybe. And so as we get into that year 3, and a lot of people fall off a little bit before year 3 because it's this understanding that, like, now if I am going to fully let people in, I have to acknowledge that I don't have enough of what I need, that I'm not sure where to go from here. And I want help kind of growing and figuring this thing out. And that other side of like, I don't want to be here all the time. And so now my work becomes figuring out how to make sure that I am not here all the time. So what does that look like? Like, how do I earn to that level of just hiring the day-to-day work out? And how do I do that? And so most people exit because it's like, I could never imagine doing that. I could never imagine kind of elevating to that level. I don't know what that would look like. And because I don't know what that would look like, and it looks like me just being here working the day to day, like, I'm out. That kind of is not what I signed up for, right? Because most entrepreneurs are signing up for this life of freedom, but we have to understand that anything that we're growing has its baby era. Right? And so they say that it takes 10 years to kind of get where you're going with whatever it is that you're working on. Okay, totally get that. Right? That makes perfect sense. And so if you're raising a child, if you're raising anything, right? Plants to pets, you understand that this is a long game. And business is no different. And that really is why that exit point is there, right? Because it's like, this is a long game that I am not sure I want to play like this forever, and I am tired. And undoubtedly, when you have a 3-year-old anything, you are tired to a level you did not understand you could be tired to. Like, I don't know how I am functioning. level. And that's why it's like, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. Well, somewhere shortly beyond that, hopefully, is a little reprieve. But we don't hold on long enough because we can only see this little piece of this. I am so tired right now. I can't keep going. And from an ego standpoint, we're not really willing to let go enough of this, right? Coming from that trusting place of like, I'm good, I'm gonna let this go. I'm gonna see how this one plays out. And I think this is where I'm at right now of, okay, I have to just let go and know, right? And like forever, at least for the last year, for sure in the last 6 months, like if this is where I'm supposed to be, then you'll figure it out. And now, what I should know is like, it has been figured out every single time. Even when you thought it was impossible. This is faith to another level. And I think faith is so funny because we're like, have faith, and yet we sit there and we pray and we overanalyze and we have anxiety and we all the things that we're not supposed to do around whatever this is. We just keep thinking the bad things into existence because we can't imagine this thing just miraculously working out. We're praying for miracles. Well, we should assume the miracle is on its way. Right? And we want that. We want to know that this is where we're supposed to be. This is kind of the miracle journey, right? Like, that's part of it. We throw up the Hail Mary and we go, all right, if I'm supposed to win, if I'm supposed to X, Y, and Z, this will all work out. And from there, that's really where the hands-off strategy exists. Like, all we can do is put people in the position and let ourselves know that this is meant for us, that we don't know how it's going to play out, but it is going to play out in our best favor, in the favor of what is meant for us. Then you might be going, okay, well, Hannah, you're just in a terrible car accident. Like, how is that in your favor? In every way, right? Like, it slowed me down and stopped me, and it took away the things that I love most, and I realized I'm not even doing the things that I love most. But I wouldn't have realized that. I'm just kind of waking up, getting through my days, doing the things, checking the boxes, getting good at checking the boxes, which is a really important piece of all of this. But I'm just checking boxes because checking boxes is kind of what people acknowledge is great about Hannah. She's great. She can deliver things. That's great. But like, great. I'm so grateful that people acknowledge that that is important in me, but that is not the best parts of me. It's just not. There's so much better parts of who I am and how I exist in this world. And that is like a very limited and actually unhealthy way of me presenting myself to the world. And so getting back into my daily practice, and I leave for about a week-long vacation this week. So I leave for that, and I'm having a conversation before I get on here because I'm like, hey, we got to catch up. We got about we have 3 episodes to catch up from last week and weeks before. Plus now we have these 2 episodes from today, from yesterday and today, because everything needs to be done right now. And, like this really was the line in the sand. This was the due date today. And everything was like, okay, but this has to be done before that can be done, and this has to be done before that can be done, and I just kept like, yeah, but we have until this date, and now we don't. Today is the day. Today is the day that we are leaving. So we don't have until today. We have today. And what I'm not thinking about is all of the things that are going to come up before today happens, And I'm not thinking about all of the ways that I'll be called into all of the things that we have to get done before today. And so today is here. And now we have this list of things that I've been putting off, waiting for the perfect instance to get this done. And it'll all get done, but like at the end of the day, as I said to myself before I got in here, like this is a daily practice. This is not about like I'm on vacation and I need a break from this. This is my everyday. This is who I am, and this is how I need to exist in the world, because essentially it helps drain my battery enough to let other people exist. But when my battery is too charged up, when I haven't run it down by 5 a.m., right? Like through all of these daily rituals, when I haven't done that, I really create no space for anyone else to exist, because my battery is fully charged and it is waiting to bubble up and blow over. And had everything that has happened over the last 6 months never happened, I wouldn't have returned to that knowing. I wouldn't have returned to the essential practice of taking care of myself. And this is how I do that. And because I am fully caring for myself, I have room to care for others. But over the last 3 years, did I have room to care for others? Yeah, I made room. But because I was sort of abandoning myself over the last 3 years, I made room and I pushed myself to the corner. And when we push ourselves to the corner, this is when our ego re-engages, because it needs to exist somewhere. It has to. And so that's where we see like the dangerously, obnoxiously competitive person that I am come out. And we see her like fighting and hating and gossiping and returning to this like unfruitful state of existence where everyone can't exist and thrive and make it happen. And no, we didn't see that show up in my day-to-day work. No. I helped people, but I couldn't really help people because I was running out of air. And when I'm running out of air, that's when we sort of back into a corner, and then we have to fight. And luckily, I had done enough self-work to like know that this is not where we need to be, but I didn't have enough time sort of running my own battery down to kind of save myself, to understand how to save myself, right? Because you can't save yourself if you are running out of air. You can't save anyone else either. And because I was running out of air, I didn't have enough to give to other people's dreams. And so we were all just, in my understanding of this, as I'm reflecting on this, we're all just kind of running our dreams on our last breaths. And I don't want last breath dreams for myself or anyone around me. I don't want desperate attempts to breathe and dream. I want like, ooh, that wasn't even a belly breath. I want... Oh no, that wasn't even good either. I want that full breath of air. I want the biggest imagination of what we could do in this life. And I would say to people, and this makes me so sad, like, okay, well, realistically, what do you want? And right, that's Hannah backed into a corner going, I can't breathe either, so I can't help you take that deep breath. right? Like, I am gasping for air. I can't breathe over here because I am barely dreaming myself. We are all just grasping and holding on. And that is not going to take us anywhere worth being. We have to dream with big breaths. And that really is where the universe was forcing me over the last 6 months, unquestionably. As always, you're smart, you're strong, you're beautiful. What are you going to do? Change the world.